Released by Square Enix and Hexadrive in 2010 on the PlayStation Portable, The Third Birthday would be the third game in the Parasite Eve series designed as a third-person shooter. Directed by Hajime Tabata and written by Toshimitsu Takeuchi and Motomu Toriyama, the game would take place 10 years after Parasite Eve 2, though would not be designed to be a direct sequel to it. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, it's Christmas Eve 2012 in New York City as a gigantic structure emerges in Times Square and demolishes the area. From them, smaller strange creatures emerge around the city, causing massive destruction and killing hundreds. With the towers called the Babel, the deadly monsters called the Twisted now flood the street, killing anyone they can catch fleeing the disaster. 1 year later, we now see Aya Brea within the Counter-Twisted Investigation, or CTI's Overdrive Room, as she is briefed by Chief Hyde on her mission to assist the military in destroying the big orb in the Babel in the past in order to change the future. She is aided by veteran Agent Cray and Dr. Blank, as Hyde reminds her that if her soul dies in the dive, she dies for real. Using a machine alongside her overdrive power to send her soul back in time, Aya inhabits a nameless soldier on site during the sacrifice incident, as she is reminded the big orb is the core of Babel. Eliminating any Twisted in her way, Aya is able to also dive into other soldiers she finds and maintain an advantage with new hosts, or dive into damaged monsters to rupture and implode them. Seeing the power of the foes before her, Aya is pulled out of the dive just in time and wakes up from a familiar nightmare at 11:30 p.m. Christmas Eve. She's confused about a particular girl with a twisted face in her dreams, as Hyde mentions their boss and the FBI branch are gone, and cryptically mentions you don't need to have a past to have a future. As Aya dives into another mission during the disaster, she is transported to a concert taking place right as the civilians are being surprised and slaughtered by the Twisted. Aya is overwhelmed by the giant creature leading the attack, as her diving ability keeps her alive just in time when soldiers arrive, though she is unable to prevent her host from being killed or her clothes being shredded. Coordinating with her team, they repel the abomination and secure the area, where Aya sees a survivor and is reminded of her dream. She's interrupted by Babel shifting and the strange woman walks away, but beyond, Aya sees a body that reminds her of her dead coworker Gabrielle and soon spots the ghost of the girl from her dreams and gives chase. Unfortunately, this leads to an encounter with a creature called a Reaper Aya cannot defeat and has no choice but to flee from. Defeating another colossal Twisted outside, Aya confronts the survivor she saw before, who is identified as Emily, and approaches Aya about her dream. Aya sees her as the girl from her dreams, as Emily urges Aya to remember where it all started, calling her sis and mentioning something called Time Zero. Hyde tells her to shoot, but Aya hesitates as Emily turns into a powerful giant Twisted. During the battle, Aya dives into Emily's mind to see a girl that looks like her, but wakes up back in her own time at 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve again. Immediately, Hyde now tells her to dive back 3 days as Cray has been killed and he needs her to change that. However, Hunter, the boss of CTI, whom Aya is surprised to see alive, disapproves of this mission as he pulls out a gun and aims at Aya, claiming she's a powerful monster herself. Hyde intercedes to protect Aya and Hunter reconsiders, though still thinks of Aya as no different from a Twisted. Blank explains Hunter doesn't believe their version of time travel can actually change the past, and wants the organization to fail so he can be reassigned to his preferred position in the FBI. To replace Cray as a handler on this mission, Aya is shocked to see Gabrielle alive and able to fill in. After showering to prepare for the mission, Aya travels back 3 days to join the joint SWAT and Army operation to destroy the Babel in Spanish Harlem. Gabrielle in the past sees Aya and chooses to make a different choice, protecting her from being paralyzed by a powerful Twisted. Her sniper elite skills create a window long enough for Aya to leap into Gabrielle's body and borrow her to finish the job. Rejoining the ground troops in the ruins in the city, Aya uses an orbital satellite's laser cannon to clear the way ahead and dives into the Babel. Within, she finds herself before a Queen Twisted, manipulating other bodies floating around them, but upon destroying it, she succeeds in toppling the Babel and saving Cray in time. Aya calls in the success of her mission, but Hunter is there to say something's happened to Gabrielle and he needs her to check it out. As it turns out, Hunter has sabotaged mission control of the present, gassing everyone to sleep, and reveals he has deliberately led Aya into a trap. A flying spinning Twisted arrives to attack Aya, and as the agent guns down the monster, as soon as she dives into it, she learns it's actually Gabrielle, somehow transformed. Gabrielle appreciates Aya's effort to save her, but dissolves anyway, and in the present day, though Gabrielle wakes to discover Hunter's betrayal, he laughs as she begins to dissolve before she can stop him. Back in the past, Aya hears a voice telling her not to give up and she's not alone, and suddenly a flood of memories rush into Aya as she recalls her sister Eve. An image of Eve now appears before her as she walks away with Kyle, whom Aya has no memory of. Eve then disappears as Kyle explains Eve is dead and her soul wanders through the gaps of time. He is surprised she forgot both of them and turns away, mentioning he'll meet her at the Babel in the Red Fog. Waking up again at 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Aya sees this is the timeline where Hunter is dead and the FBI is gone, but Cray is alive. Unsure of things, Aya requests for information on Kyle and Eve to Hyde, as Hyde notes to himself that Aya is starting to remember her home. Until then, they look into Operation Red Fog, an incident a few weeks after the first Babel appeared that triggered the growth of the surrounding Babels, and note what was awakened in the Babel was the Queen. Diving in, Aya is told to rendezvous with a friend of Cray's, Delta Force Captain Russo, as the Twisted and Grand Central Station evolve their security. Some of the soldiers see the girl with a twisted face from Aya's dream, while others spot a man matching Kyle's description. However, Hyde reports back to her that the records show she never had a younger sister named Eve. Even so, when Aya arrives at the big orb, she sees Eve within it, though from Command's perspective they don't see anything, and speculate Aya is seeing the possibility of Eve's existence. She's interrupted by Captain Russo, who pulls a gun on her and reveals himself to really be Cray, and looks at the big orb and claims to see his daughter Isabella. He says he killed everyone, including the real Captain Russo, as a means to protect his daughter, and allows himself to be absorbed by the core. Diving in after him, she sees a normal version of Cray, telling her to find Eve before dissolving himself. In the present day, Cray dissolves too, mentioning how his daughter died and is relieved to finally join her. Blank tries to apprehend him, but it is too late, and the moment Cray is gone, time changes and Blank has no memory of Cray being alive here in the first place. Time passes and it's now February 15, 2014, and an assault on the Babel in Lower Manhattan is beginning as a last-ditch effort before a nuclear option is exercised. Meeting up with her old scientist friend Maida, Aya shows she is not able to use her overdrive technique to jump into the past on her own, needing CTI's machine, but reflecting how CTI and everything in it was destroyed 2 months ago. Fighting their way into the North Shallows Tower, Maida mentions Kyle is also there, and explains the Twisted are a virus that devours time and space as they reproduce. Helping the army plant C4 around the building and breaking down the tower inside and out, their efforts do not succeed in destroying the Babel, and so a nuclear strike is authorized. Locating Kyle atop the tower, Aya and the remaining troops make their way towards him, as Maida theorizes the Babel serves a different function than a nest to the Twisted. Confronting Kyle on the roof, he replies she's lost in time and ignores all of Aya's questions, claiming she's better off not knowing. Finding him awfully suspicious, she shoots him down and he indeed transforms into a massive Twisted and attacks. With army backup, they wear him down long enough for Aya to dive into him, and she senses Eve within. She is then struck by a memory of being wed to Kyle, and in the middle of the ceremony, they were both gunned down by soldiers as Eve looked on. Snap back to reality, Aya rushes to a normal Kyle and says he was trying to protect her, but the Twisted took over his body. Before he dies, he says eternity is inside of her, and as the nuclear missiles strike the city, Maida notices the Babels are all merging. Converging around the nuclear explosion, the Babels surround and smother it, completely absorbing the detonation and growing into a stronger new Grand Babel. Before it, Hyde now mentions the doors to Zero have opened before stepping in, and at the same time Maida discovers the Babel is actually a giant overdrive system. In addition, he shares the new powerful, intelligent, and human-like life forms, dubbing them the High Ones, are now trying to take the Grand Babel from the Twisted. They spot Hyde from a satellite image, and following him in with what troops remain, Maida guides her to where there is a large energy signature called the Doors of Time, where Twisted are entering the past and she can use it to overdive as well. He suspects Hyde is also using it to travel back in time several years ago too, and as Aya catches up, Hyde is indeed there, lamenting how he has been trapped in the Ring of Time, destroying Twisted sent from the future. Even when he falls, he just wakes up in the church on a snowy day again and the cycle repeats itself. He's not at all too surprised to find Aya confronting him about pitting her against the High Ones so far, and Hyde explains in this war against the Twisted, every time one of them dies, the tower grows stronger. In fact, he took advantage of that fact to form Grand Babel and unlock the doors to Zero, revealing he also has overdrive powers like her because he is actually a High One as well. Ascending into his Twisted form, Aya battles Hyde and forces a dive into him where she sees during the attack on her wedding day, Aya was the one to shoot Eve during those events. Hyde explains she did so to stop the awakening of Eve, the mother, as all the High Ones were created the moment Eve awakened and they each inherited her memories. Hyde, Cray, Emily, and Gabrielle were all there that fateful day, and Aya suggests overdiving into the past to fix things. Hyde counters that overdiving is something others can do besides Aya, and takes her to Eve instead. Brought before the Queen, Aya finds it is a large Twisted she's battled with before, and upon diving into it, catches up to Hyde at the Rockefeller Center, who wonders which of them will reach Zero first. Pitting their individual overdive abilities against each other, Aya is encouraged by her friends and loved ones who lend their power and bodies to her in order to edge out a win against the Chief. As Hyde dissolves, he claims Aya cannot go against time and will be forced to commit another sin against her wishes as Time Zero reveals itself to her. Traveling back to Christmas Eve 2010, Aya witnesses the events of her wedding to Kyle from the perspective of Eve, right when a military group bursts in to gun down Aya, Kyle, and the priest. The overdrive power awakening in both Aya and Eve, Eve is desperate to save Aya as she finds herself diving into Aya's body and killing all of her attackers, but has no memory of herself anymore. As he stated before, Hyde is returned to the church upon his death and greets her, as Eve is informed Time Zero is the point at which she dove into Aya's body and lost her memory, and Overdrive was born where their souls collided. He also adds in doing so, Aya's soul was destroyed, and though she refuses to believe this, Eve recalls that Aya never shot her after all, and Hyde confirms this. He continues that when Aya's soul was shattered by Eve, her fragments scattered across time and space and became reborn as the Twisted. At the same time, Eve's discarded body deteriorated and created life forms with her memories, the High Ones, and Aya's friends at the wedding then turned into monsters she had to later kill. As they stand at the beginning of the cycle again, he assures her this time it will not repeat, as this time Eve is back in her own body and he offers her the chance to let him overdive into her and create a new, even stronger species able to destroy the Twisted and leave humanity behind. She refuses to allow it, but Hyde forces a fusion with her anyway, though just in time he is shot down by Aya, recovering from her own gunshot wounds as her soul has not left yet. She finishes off Hyde but then turns to Eve, handing her her gun and telling her the cycle has still not been stopped, and tells her where to aim to truly kill her and prevent the creation of the Twisted. Eve is reluctant to do so, always admiring Aya, but Aya regrets not being able to exchange vows with Kyle. The two hug each other as their overdrive powers awaken, and as Eve and Aya swap souls between their bodies, Eve within Aya shoots Aya within Eve, as Aya claims she won't disappear. Mourning the loss of Aya, Eve now hears the voice of Kyle, who tells her he believes his and Aya's love surpasses death and time, and one day they will meet again, as he wakes up and wishes her Merry Christmas. With a flash of light, time resets and changes into a new course, as the voice of Aya now speaks to Eve, telling her to smile and walk toward the future, as she'll be watching over her in this timeline where Eve's body doesn't exist anymore. As the game ends, Eve stands in for Aya on her intended wedding day, but Kyle catches the deception, smirking and telling Eve she doesn't have to pretend. He then steps away, telling her to live her own life as he and Aya will watch over her. Turning, he declares he's now going to go on a journey to find eternity, but pauses to wish her a happy birthday. Later, Eve is walking down a snowy street as an oddly familiar woman walks past her to wish her a happy 4th birthday, but quickly turning, Eve sees no one is there. The 3rd birthday has enjoyed the success of selling over 520,000 copies worldwide. This is a pretty controversial game to many, but let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed the recap, then leave a like, and big thanks to the Patreon and channel troop members. Links are in the description for my Discord and ways to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.